Howdy, all. Professor Parks, PhD here. I make content on astronomy, mental health, and science skepticism. I wasn't planning on going live today. I was actually planning on going live, and I do plan on going live tomorrow. But a friend of the channel, Eric E., has been letting me know about Mr. Austin Witsit's kind of goings on, and he informed me about the 20 questions that he wants Globers to answer in a yes or no fashion. He also informed me that I made a mistake in the description, that there should be that if you don't answer it yes or no, you are not in good faith. Howdy, Georg, Rachie. Hope you and your family are doing well, and you too, Georg. But where was I going with it? So yeah, so he told me about the 20 questions that he wants me to answer, and I'm going to look over them tonight and tomorrow and do my best to answer them in a yes or no fashion. But I reserve the right to expound on those yes or no answers. And I hope that I have gained enough goodwill that I will be allowed to do so without being accused of not acting in good faith. But like I said, so that's tomorrow. However, Eric then sent me the transcript of the last part of, I guess, his last stream or whatever. And I don't know. Recently, due to recent events, I've been rather prickly, and I've been trying to cope with that as best I could, or best I can. But this, I couldn't resist. I could not resist coming on and giving my thoughts on it, because it is something I've addressed in the past, and I think it needs to stop. I think it needs to stop. It apparently needs to be addressed again. Anyway, before I get into all that, I want to give you a few channel updates, so forth. What I'm most excited about is that tonight we are hosting Dr. Joshua Pepper here at GMU. He has been a colleague of mine, or I've known about him. I met him back when I was a grad student in mid-90s. No, excuse me. Met him back when I was a grad student in the early 2000s. And he's a planet hunter, and he has found 26 planets to date, as far as I'm aware. And he's going to be giving a talk for us tonight for the Evening Under the Stars event. Now, luckily for me, he is going to be in person. However, what that means is that I will not be able to record the talk through Zoom. So right after I do this, what I'm going to do is I'm going to take this setup and I'm going to take it downstairs, and I'm going to try to set it up such that I can record that talk, because I'm very excited about it. It's entitled "Search for Extraterrestrial Intelligence," or Extraterrestrial Life, excuse me. I know that is a topic that I've talked about, so I'm very curious to know what his thoughts on it are, and he's going to be talking about it with respect to the type of exoplanets that we have discovered so far. And since he is far more of an expert in the field than I am, I'm sure that his insights will provide a better, insight into the topic. Yes, Rachie, there are. You're either in the biz, you're either a planet hunter or you're a planet killer. So just kind of a briefly, when a exoplanet is detected, it's considered an object of interest. We don't immediately, from a single detection, we don't immediately say, aha, this is an exoplanet of such mass at such distance. We call it an object of interest, meaning that we require more proof. We need more evidence to make such a claim. And so what happens is those objects of interest are then passed out to the general community, astronomical community, although Also, they are publicly available. So an amateur or a lay citizen astronomer could do this as well. You follow up on the object and you see if you can confirm the initial assessment that this was in fact a exoplanet. And so there are people like Josh who do that, who find planets. And then there is a couple, and there's one particular, I forgot his name off the top of my head. He has the misfortune of whenever he tries to do this, he negates that, he falsifies that initial hypothesis that this was a planet. So when people are like, hey, I found a planet, and then when he looks at it, he's like, no, you didn't. So yeah, he is known primarily as a planet killer. I don't think he's actually confirmed any planets of his own. Anyway, so I've got that. I'm going to be recording something, like I said, tonight down there. And, I will, I'll try to make it substantive. And I will post that onto my Patreon page and and make it a members only video on the channel. So if you'd like to see it, me basically putzing around and kind of throwing things off of the, riffing off things. I have no idea what I'm going to riff off of, but it's not going to be anything like this. It's actually going to be related to science. And if you'd like to see that, please become a patron or a member of the channel. Next thing I want to talk about is, last time I talked about Dr. Becky's book, A Brief History of Black Holes. I'm not overly, I'm only a few couple chapters in it, and I just haven't had the time recently to read it. It's not to my taste so far. Not to say that it's bad, and not to say that I would not recommend it. I would recommend someone not read it. It's just simply not to my taste. You clearly hear her voice in this work. It's just not a voice I find overly compelling. But I did want to read one thing out there, because I think it's apropos to science skepticism. She's talking about Newton and how he came up with his the formulation of gravity. It says, he questioned why the apple always fell straight downwards and never varied by falling diagonally or even upwards, figuring that the apple must therefore be attracted to the very center of the earth. His notebooks from the time show how he puzzled over this idea for many years, wondering whether the force exerted by the earth extended beyond its surface, perhaps even keeping the moon in its orbit. I say that because one of the first kind of foray, or one of the first questions out there that people had of flat earthers is, how does, particularly relative density disequilibrium, is how does RDD determine direction? How does it keep it from fall? Why does it force the object? Why do different densities force the object to move down rather than to the side, or as a mixture of both? It says that it's either going to float or it's going to rise based on the densities, but it doesn't explain why or how that relative density actually has any kind of preferred direction. So I thought that was, Rachel, it doesn't. I thought it's kind of like a flashback or a cut to an earlier time. So I thought I'd put that out there. All right. So to a more somber subject. You saw my short from last night. You know where this is going. What I want to say about this is just in general, and it irritates the piss out of me that YouTube will get angry at me if I say a certain S word with relation to mental health. So I'm just going to call it IDE. What I want to say, just briefly, well, first off, I want to say that any super chats that I may happen to get during this stream are going to go to Adam's family, Triggered Limey, his family. I don't know exactly how I'm going to get there because I don't trust the players involved in the fundraising. So I'm not sure how I'm going to get the money to him. I think I'm just going to send it to his PayPal because, if they present PayPal with his death certificate, then I'm positive that they will open up his account to the family. So that is probably the route that I'm going to go. So again, any super chats will go to that now for the stream. And what I want to say is that last night I saw a stream where private DMs between this person and Adam were shared. And in these DMs, Adam was difficult to hear, just difficult to read. And I just want to tell people that I'd is very similar to murder. You need means, you need motive, and you need opportunity. If you got all three, then that very well may happen. And so in those DMs, Adam expressed he had motive, he had means, he certainly had opportunity. If you're ever in a situation where you speak to a friend and they clearly lay out that they have the means, the motive, the opportunity for I'd do something. I don't care if they live in Norway. Tell someone. Figure out a way to tell someone in that person's vicinity that this is a threat. I used to feel that because I would often make statements that upset people, that made them worry about my safety. And I realized how shitty that was to do. And I promised myself that I would never do that again unless I was really in crisis. Because if you care about them, you're only really left with one choice. You have to take them seriously. You have to protect them from themselves. So for the love of God, do something. Fucking find someone in their area and have them reach out to that person. And as much as I hate welfare checks, if you can get a hold of the authorities in that area, call a welfare check. For the love of God, please. So I'm not blaming anyone for this. I'm just saying that if you have a friend that is expressed that they have the means, motive, and opportunity to remove themselves from this life, do something beyond just trying to comfort them. You need to bring a third party involved to ensure that that person remains safe, even if it means that they need to be involuntarily committed to a health facility. Okay. Howdy, Nimrod. Yeah. On to a different topic. So, I think I've got that covered. So Evening Under the Stars, like I said, look forward to, I'm going to record a video right after this testing whether or not I can actually do it. And if I can actually do it, I will be recording Dr. Pepper talking about the search for extraterrestrial life. And I will be posting that to everyone on YouTube when I can. I talked about Dr. Becky's book, which again, I'm not going to recommend you not buy it. And maybe it'll get better for me. And I talked about Adam. So, Eric, just in time. I was just about to talk to you or I've already mentioned you that that you were keeping me abreast of Austin's activities. And so I'm going to share a screenshot of the transcript that you acquired of what Austin has said. So let's just get into it. All right, I couldn't figure out a way to actually share the preview program that this is in. So I had to share the entire screen, and now this is full screen. So I don't know how well this is. You can be seeing this, but I'm just going to read it. I'm just going to read it front to back, and then start commenting on it. Howdy, Stephanie. Chris, good to see you. So before this, there is a section before this. Dr. Clive Wells, welcome. Howdy. There was a section before this that I actually kind of found a little bit amusing. He was telling his audience, so this was from a live stream. Eric could tell you exactly which live stream it is, but he was ending the stream, and this is basically what he was ending it with. And the part that I'm not showing, that was provided to me, was him essentially saying, yeah, I know this is all very technical and quote unquote nerdy, but he feels that it is vital that if you are trying to seek the truth, then you need to get into this sort of depth of the science, which I found to be amusing that he had to preface it with that his audience may in fact disregard what he had to say because he was actually looking into the science behind the quote unquote heliocentric theory. So, yeah, then he got into this. All right, so here we go. Awesome. Thank you so much. Thank you guys to everyone that supported the channel. And speak and seek truth unequivocally. The weak find contentment in the consensus of ignorance. So who cares what other people think? Just keep researching, keep looking for the truth, just acknowledge, apply pattern recognition and recognize that when it comes to this information that's supposedly so sewn up and so, open and closed, it's for some reason, it's consistently misrepresented with tons of lies of manipulation and subversion and omissions and oppression and suppression. It's like that's not really adding up right. Well, it's because the Earth is a stationary topographical plane. We're in the center, it's enclosed. That they lie about all of this other nonsense is to make you feel insignificant, to potentially hide land, whatever it is, because they are scared of the Creator and want to convince themselves that the Earth isn't what it provably is. Right. That it means it is not moving, which means it is the center of everything, but that's just the facts. It is what it is, and we're just here to tell you the truth, not shoot the messenger. But don't worry about what other people say, because weak people always attack the stronger people, and that's actually a sign that you're doing something right, for they attacked all the prophets before you. Right. So keep on looking for the truth and speak up when you find it. And what's popular is rarely true, and what's true is rarely popular. I'll catch up with you guys for the next stream. Okay. Austin, if you happen to watch this, I'm going to be a bit salty. I'm going to be a bit salty because a lot of this language I don't really appreciate. So let's get into it. So you basically said that that the weak find contentment in the consensus of ignorance. Okay. I'm going to try to branch some of these together. So you've made the statement, the weak find contentment in the consensus of ignorance. Okay. Because weak people always attack the stronger people. That's a sign that you're doing something right. Where else? I think that's the only time you use the word weak. So, yeah. What about science? Because I'm just going to say science, because I know how I'm pretty sure I know how you feel about evolution. So what is it about the scientific community that is weak? And if you can be specific, I would very much appreciate that. Not like I'm taking this as a personal attack, but I kind of am. Because essentially you're calling anyone who believes that the Earth is a sphere, that cosmology has it for the most part correct, that evolution has it mostly, or for the most part, correct, that we are weak, and that we are content in the consensus of ignorance. Now, I know you might be referring to people who are lay people who are not in the field of science, who are not in the field of doing active research, but it doesn't matter. I still want to know why it is, with specificity, that you feel that these people are weak. From a moral point of view, I would like to know how you justify judging these people as weak. Consensus of ignorance. That would imply that the scientific community is ignorant. I take umbrage with that. We are many, many things. Many of us reside in our very comfortable ivory towers, but we are not ignorant. We actively seek out and acquire knowledge. To dismiss that, to misrepresent that, I take umbrage with. You want to apply pattern recognition. Sure, that is definitely something that we do. But I would go further, and because this is the language of science skepticism, is that pattern recognition is one part of a larger thing which we like to call the scientific method. So don't just apply pattern recognition, apply the scientific method. And recognize when it comes to this information that's supposedly sewn up. Again, I cannot speak for others, but I have been very clear about what is and isn't effectively settled science. I don't really like the term settled science. For me, the definition of settled science is science that would require overwhelmingly convincing evidence to refute. Do I believe that general relativity is settled? I do not. I believe that it has problems on both the small and larger scales, as Sabine Hostetter in the video that Stephanie has shared with me makes perfectly clear. It cannot be reconciled currently with quantum mechanics. Of course, her opinion is that quantum mechanics is wrong and general relativity is probably right. Although she didn't really state that second part, she definitely thinks that quantum mechanics is a bit wrong. And obviously there is the issue of dark energy and dark matter, specifically in terms of the early universe with these observations of JWST coming up. So again, to say that we are putting this forth as sewn up, that's a very broad statement, which reminds me that I'm guilty of this. I have at times made blanket statements about flat earthers. And I need to not do that because everyone is individual, and with flat earth specifically, flat earth is in no way monolithic. There are a plurality of beliefs within the flat earth community as to how things operate. So let's not go with the name, guys. And yes, Chris, pattern recognition can lead to pareidolia. And where was I going with this? So yes, so I want to express the potential hypocrisy of what I'm about to say next, which is a lot of this is just blanket. It's blanket statements about globers, quote unquote globers, that they are saying that for some reason it's consistently misrepresented with tons of lies and manipulation and subversion and omissions and oppression and suppression. Okay, let's look at that. Lies. With specificity, tell me where science has lied. That would be to perpetuate a deception. That would be to say one thing that is not true, objectively not true. Not wrong. You can be wrong without lying, but objectively not true. That's a lie. Manipulation. Please, with specificity, let me know where mainstream science has manipulated things. And when I say specificity, I'd like names, I'd like dates, and I'd like papers or videos that say this. And I'm not talking about videos where you have some famous scientist up on his ivory throne saying flat earthers are idiots. Not saying that. What I'm saying is that they are presenting science in a way to misrepresent the truth. Subversion. Okay. Not entirely certain what you mean by that. Again, I suspect that you think that there is a force out there who's attempting to undercut your message, who are attempting to infiltrate or somehow discredit you in some way. Please be specific. Omissions. It's the only one of these that I will actually provide. Omissions is the only one of these that I will say you're on to something. Let's take physics, for example, because I'm teaching recitations. There is this term that I've been talking to my students about, and it's called, howdy, Judy. It's called the spherical cow. So physicists will frequently, particularly when teaching something, ignore, reality. Dealing with something that is spherical in geometry is a hell of a lot easier than dealing with something that has an irregular structure, because it's less complicated. It is symmetric. So frequently you really only have to deal with one dimension. When we talk about physics, we will often ignore that friction exists. We certainly ignore that air resistance exists at an introductory level. We say that wires are perfect, that wires do not, in fact, have any resistance with them, which is also incorrect. We do these things because we believe that these are the best practices to educate. That we first want to keep the subject or the topic simple and straightforward, and then add complexity once you've mastered the simple nature of it. Now, you can make an argument to say that that is not the right way to go about teaching, and I would love to have that conversation. I believe that Matt and I Can Science That, have discussed this at times. And in science communication, I can't think of one off the top of my head, but I'm sure there are times when certain things are omitted. Not facts, certain things are omitted. Again, this is done for simplicity. This is done because there is a certain thing that you would want the public to know, and to include something else would just cloud the issue. It doesn't negate what you are saying. It doesn't make it wrong. It simply would detract from a person understanding that subject, or that, black holes, for example. It's often omitted, for example, that black holes are not just simple objects that are simply mass that has fallen into itself. There's a bit more to it. For example, I don't know if you all knew this, but black holes rotate. Some of them rotate, actually, I would say all of them rotate very, very quickly. And so this event horizon that is often shown as a sphere is not exactly what's really going on. There's actually a region around, whose name I've completely forgotten, that if you don't take appropriate measures, you will fall into you cannot have a stable orbit within that torus, within that region of a spinning black hole. So you can enter that region, you cannot have a stable orbit, but you can survive. You can actually leave. In the classic description of a black hole, ergosphere, thank you. In a classic description of a black hole, you would think that you could orbit around that sucker at a state, as long as you're outside the event horizon, you can orbit around that sucker stably however you want. Or you may think that you can't ever do that. We omit these things because that's not the point. We want people to understand that there is an exotic object out there called a black hole that effectively is so dense that the gravity is so strong that light cannot escape it. Because ultimately, when you're talking about science communication, education really isn't the point, particularly in astronomy. The point is inspiration. The point is to say, look, there is something really weird about the universe, that your life, that your experiences in the world, as extraordinary as they may be, are but a small fraction of the wonders that are out there in both the macro universe and in the micro universe. That's the point of science communication. For me, for my money, it's not education, it's inspiration. So yes, omissions, sure, we omit stuff, but it's in good faith. Now, let's get to oppression and suppression. All right, let's deal with suppression first. Sure. Flat Earth is what's the word for it? It's not promoted on YouTube. That's clear. There's evidence that YouTube has stated very clearly that they are not going to give preference in the grand algorithm that must be obeyed and placated. In the grand algorithm, the algorithm is not going to promote flat Earth content. You actually have to actively go look for it. You could argue that this is suppression. I would say it's suppression-ish. Suppression would be to remove flat Earth content because it is flat Earth content. Flat Earth content has often been removed not because it is flat Earth, because of the underlying some problematic things, such as, I hate to say it, but anti-Semitism. This whole potentially hiding land thing. Usually the only time that I've gotten an answer as to who hides it, you guessed it, it's the Jews. I've never heard of anyone else saying, you know what, it's the Russians, the fucking Cossacks who are hiding that land. Nope. They give me an answer, which they usually don't. It's the Jews who are hiding that land. Or with the flat Earth content, they will go on and say that certain vaccines cause, or allow you to be or certain vaccines are, death machines, or 9/11 ain't real, or something like that. But I have never heard, and I'm open to being corrected, but I have never seen a case of oppression or a case of suppression where flat earth content was removed from a platform because of flat earth content. Oppression. Okay. Who are the jackboots? Stephanie, you haven't talked to the people I've talked to. So I'm sorry if you don't want to believe that, but it's there. And I'm not making the blatant statement that all flat earthers are anti-Semites. I'm just saying that I have been told by flat earthers that the people behind hiding land are anti-Semite or are the Jews. So again, you can believe that or not, but I am being honest with you as best I can. Now, oppression. Who are the jackboots and how are they oppressing you? Are they going to your homes? Are they taking away your children? Are they forcing you out of your jobs? Who's oppressing you? Who are these dark, black trench coat wearing jackboots who are going around finding flat earthers and imprisoning them or preventing them from having jobs or killing them? Or because the word oppression to me has a very specific meaning. It's Stephanie, I would agree with you. Yes, they are stupid. But so who are these oppressions? To me, oppression is killing people, is imprisoning people, is forcing people into abject poverty, to segregate people. So who's doing that? One, I'd like to see evidence that that is actually happening, again, with specificity. But I would like to, and then again, I would like clear answer as to who. Getting back to, you feel getting back to potentially hiding land. Again, I've heard this many times, and I've talked about this. I would really like it if you would tell me who. I think that is vitally important because you are accusing someone, because to go along with this, and again, I don't want to strawman you, but usually what goes along with hiding land is the hoarding of resources. So you are accusing someone or some group of people, some group of nations, someone of deliberately causing harm to our society via omission. That they are depriving us of needed resources for us. And don't give me this bullshit about the Antarctic Treaty. That has been debunked multiple fucking times. You can go to Antarctica. Yes, you have to jump through some hoops in order to do it because Antarctica is dangerous as shit. They're not going to allow anyone to just trek across to the South Pole without some kind of oversight. And if you think oversight equals prohibition, I don't know what to tell you. We prohibit people from driving without a license because if we don't ensure that they have some idea of how to drive a car, they're going to kill somebody, maybe, and probably themselves. So, and again, this has been shown over and over and over and over again. You can go to Antarctica. You can go to the South Pole. You just have to jump through hoops to ensure that you are going to be safe. The Antarctic Treaty, what it says is that Antarctica cannot be exploited for territorial or resource gain by any particular nation. It is not guarded by anyone. There are no boats. if there are boats that come up to you, somebody's boat, and says, hey, what the fuck are you doing here? That's because, again, there are regulations preventing certain types of exploration. One of my colleagues at Georgia State, he was a marathoner. Oddly enough, a lot of the people at Georgia State ran marathons. I think there was something in the water. And because I didn't really drink water back then, I never got the bug. This dude has run a marathon on every continent except Africa. And when I say every continent, he's run a marathon, you guessed it, in Antarctica. So I don't know unless you're calling him a liar, I don't know what you're talking about. He didn't want to go to Africa because he's scared of Kenyans. He's scared of Kenyans and Ethiopians because he's like, they're going to kick my ass. I'm like, all right, fair enough. So yeah, fuck the Antarctic bullshit. Now, here's the thing that really piqued me was they lied about all this other nonsense to make you feel insignificant. Matt, I hope you're listening. To make you feel insignificant because they're scared of the creator, capital C, as you can see, and want to convince themselves that the earth isn't what it provably is. All right, first off, you haven't proved anything. A proof to me would be a fact. A proof would be an observation with a measurement with an error bar. Flat Earth has never been measured. Dan, if you're watching, please do not go into a rage. Please do not seethe. Even if the light laser tests demonstrate that you see too far, it is not a measure of flatness. It is simply a measure of you see too far as shown by the current globe model. So by flatness, because what those observations allow is for the Earth to still be a sphere, just a much larger one. A measure of flatness is you have some kind of reference system that you are applying this to, and you can measure the curvature with respect to that reference, and you can measure that the curvature is 0. Until you can do that, you haven't proved shit. You haven't even strongly supported anything. So there's that. Now let's get into it. Let's get into this next part. Makes you feel insignificant. I'm sorry that would make you feel that way. Again, I've been very clear on this subject. Pale blue dot. I don't agree with Carl Sagan's assessment or his logic going beyond that. But I will agree with him, ultimately, that we live on a speck or a mote in a sunbeam. To me, that makes us infinitely significant because we're it. This mote of dust is all we have. There are no other humans in the universe, just us, unless the universe is really weird, that something else is really going on. Really weird. Oh, lovely. Where are we going here? Sorry, forgot my cursor. Defending the Jesuit deception. I'll get into that in a second. So I look at that. I am not only do I find that to be that I am just unique in the universe, and to me, unique is significant. I mean, you talk to any conservationist, they're going to tell you we got to save the whales because, they're significant. We got to save ourselves because we are significant. I don't know why it makes you feel that way. I don't know why it makes anyone feel that way. I wish it didn't. I would love to have conversations with folks to explore that with them. But yeah, I don't understand. To me, it's the opposite. They're scared of the creator. Am I scared of the creator? I am scared of harming my relationship with the creator. I'm certainly not scared of God in any other sense. I am scared of the creator in the same way that I am scared of hurting my brother Vic. Same way. In terms of Edwin Hubble horrifying revelation. Okay. Anyway, like I said, I'll get into that. So I've heard this before, that the scientific community is trying to hide God, or worse, that the scientific community has an agenda to promote atheism. I hate to break this to you, but in my experience, most scientists are in practice agnostic, in the sense that they don't think about it. They don't care. I know for a fact, or I know that there are scientists out there who are atheists. There are scientists out there who are anti-theists, who are actively against those who have religious faith. I also know a couple of Christians who are scientists. I know a couple of agnostics that are scientists. Einstein, who people love to quote and all that, was not overly religious, but he was not an atheist either. He believed in some greater power or some greater thing called nature, which is why he refused to accept quantum mechanics as the thing, because he refused to he could not reconcile that nature in itself would be inherently unknowable. Okay, now let's go to this. I love this. Yes. Sorry, I'm getting too salty. It is the Jesuit trying to disprove the Bible. Well, first off, Galileo was not a Jesuit, by the way. And I have been told by the former head of the Vatican Observatory, who I don't believe was a Jesuit either, I could be wrong, that Galileo believed in the Bible so long as it didn't contradict science. He was still a man of faith, even though he did not believe that the Earth was the center of the solar system. Still a man of faith. My question to you, sir, is, or madam, and to Austin, and to anyone else, why is your faith so tied to the Bible being literally accurate? That's what I want to know. Is your faith, if you can be shown that the earth or the sun did not stand still, or that the bush did not burn, or that the river did not part, church. I will look into that. I'm pretty sure that Galileo was not a Jesuit. Even if you might seem to claim that he is. Actually, right after I finish this thought, I'll look. Why is it so important for the Bible to be literally accurate? It isn't for me. I look at the Bible from a moral standpoint. What does it matter morally if I was created from clay or if I was created through a process of natural selection? What is the implication morally between those two options? Because I understand that the Bible is poetic, or is, excuse me, not well, it is poetic, but I also understand that the Bible is parable. Jesus didn't speak straight pretty much anywhere in the Bible, except when he was pissed off at the tax collectors. And he spoke in parables all the time. So I don't understand. He espoused the views of a Jesuit. I'm curious to know what you think Jesuits espouse. Because I've actually read, what is his name? I've actually read the works of the person who founded the Jesuit order. And I can guarantee you, it had nothing to do with geocentrism or heliocentrism. Besides Lemaitre, can you provide me with specificity the list of all of the heliocentric proponents who are Jesuits? I am not. I thought about it, but then that would make me a Catholic, and I've already said that I'm not a Catholic. There's the power of the church versus the power of the Bible. I'm honestly confused. The church didn't like Galileo. The church condemned Galileo. So how is it that Galileo was espousing the views of a Jesuit who is part of the church, and yet the church tried to silence him for hundreds of years? So I'm not seeing that connection. And again, and this is for anybody. That's not what I wanted to do. I really want to have a discussion about this. I really want to have, where is that? There it is. Really want to have a discussion as to the moral implications of what science is saying. Why is it that the church wants full authority? Common man reading the Bible is out. You really don't know what the Jesuit are. Frankly, sir or madam, frankly, sovereign, you don't know what I know about the Jesuits. Does the church want full authority? It used to. It sure as shit used to. And yes, part of the Reformation was because that Martin Luther rejected the idea that there needed to be an intermediary between you and God, i.e. the church. I reject that notion as well. If we're going to go down that route, I look at priests in the same way that I look at lawyers. If I want to know how to live a Christ-like life, I'm going to go to a priest. If I want to learn how to not go to jail, I'm going to go to a lawyer. Why? Because they are experts in their fields. Priests devote themselves to the study of God and God's word. So yeah, I'm going to go to a priest because he probably knows what the fuck he's talking about. Yes, the Reformation challenged the authority of the Vatican. Yes, I know. I'm well aware of that. But how does that relate to heliocentrism? How does that relate to this idea that science is scared of the creator, is trying to pull the wool over your eyes and make you a despicable, demonic atheist? Where is that connection? That's what I really want to know. Now, here's the bit, and I've talked to Toon about this, and I want to tread lightly because there's language here that I really doesn't like. Science is a lie. Okay. That I really don't like. Because weak people always attack the stronger people, and that's actually a sign that you're doing something right, for they attacked all the prophets before you. Austin, do you think of yourself as a prophet? I guess that's a bold statement. That is a bold statement to make. I would, in fact, go so far as to say that is a prideful statement to make. It's not you to determine who or who is not a prophet of God or whoever. And to say that the persecution that prophets have felt is akin to the persecution of what flat earthers feel, I take umbrage with that. And this also goes with what Christians have done to scientists, burning them at the stake and whatnot, smashing their ashes with hammers and whatnot. It's not excusable either. Galileo was under house arrest. He was, in fact, punished. He could not leave his house. He wasn't burned, but he was punished. His book, the dialogues, I think it was. No. What's the dialogue? His main book that talked about heliocentrism was banned for hundreds of years. I don't know if owning the book is cause for excommunication, but it sure as shit is a no-no and from canon law. So he was punished. Punished is a made-up Marxist nonsense word. I see you associate Christianity with the corruption of the Vatican. I do. Are Catholics Christians? Yes. Is the Vatican the seat of the Catholic Church? Yes. So I guess in that way I associate Christians with the Vatican with Christianity. But I don't know if you have been on this channel before, but I have made my feelings of the Catholic Church crystal clear. Anti-Semitism is a made-up Marxist nonsense word. Really? Should Professor Parks go there? Should Professor Parks... And Stephanie, I hope you're watching, or I hope you're paying attention. Catholics are pagan worshipers. As a former pagan, no, I can assure you they're not. Paganism and Catholicism has... All right, that's a separate conversation if I want to have that logically. So, Sovereign, do you believe that anti-Semitism exists? Semite is a language group. It is from an academic standpoint, but very much like theory from an academic standpoint has a far different meaning than theory in the colloquial or everyday context. I know, Stephanie, I'm not saying you are a Christian. I'm not saying you are. I'm talking specifically about this conversation about anti-Semitism. Anti-Semitism is a nonsense word. My question to you, Sovereign, is does anti-Semitism have the Jews as a people, have they been persecuted ever? And I will wait for your answer. And I do hope you answer it. Christ brings a sword. If you want to answer that question, go ahead. Semite is a scientific word for Israel. I'm not going to debate that. Jews are not Semitic. Again, so Sovereign, you said no. I don't want to strawman you because I feel that this is a very big thing. When you say no, Jews have never been persecuted. No, they are professional victims. Okay. Jews are not Semitic. Okay. Christ being a sword brings a sword. Would you answer the question, have Jews been persecuted? Ever? Jews come from Abraham, and Abraham comes from Shem. Stephanie, in this context, I don't think it really matters. I think he does not believe that Jews have ever been persecuted, that they are, quote, professional victims. Jews have certainly been attacked, but only because the Lord allows it in response to their rebellion. By attacked, let's go there. There was this thing during World War II. Do you believe it happened or not? And you can put as much nuances in there as you feel necessary. The blessing was passed to Joseph and not to Judah, so the blessing was not passed to the Jews. They put themselves into victim status. Okay. Christ brings a sword. Yeah. Stephanie, I'm aware of it. I'm just wondering what the opinions of both Christ and Sovereign are on this subject. Oddly enough, Catholic Church was, maybe still is, extremely anti-Semitic because, Jews killed Christ. So there you go. What are you going to do? Which is yet another sin that the church needs to fucking upon. 6 million is a pretty big number. Sure it is. What's your point? What saying that 6 million is a pretty big number is, what is your point? I can infer a point, but I don't want to put words in your mouth. So, a number that has been proven a lie. Okay. Do you know, can you tell me how many people died during that event? In 1900, the fall of empires began and Israel returned to their land. 120 years later, we are in the last days of empires. Christ, that really doesn't address the question that I asked, which is whether or not the Jews have been persecuted. Well, actually, I asked if you believe that a certain event during World War II happened. And I'd say the fall of empires began way before 1900. I mean, there's this little thing called the Roman Empire that fell, Persian Empire, it fell. Mongolian Empire, it fell well before 1900. The Austro-Hungarian Empire, yeah. Okay. Jews have certainly been punished and persecuted. If you don't want to answer the question on that event in World War II, I'm not going to push it. So, Bellywood, one of my first channel member. There is much more persecution to come. God, I hope not. Christ, I asked whether or not you believe that the event during World War II, that the Germans allegedly perpetrated onto a certain group of people, I'm asking if you believe that happened. They act like turds after infiltrating every facet of society, and then they whine when the pendulum swings the other way. Oh, I'm sorry, Sovereign. I didn't know you'd asked me that question. You never answered the question when you would like to have a discussion on this, on um, on Jews specifically. I would be happy to have that conversation with you, but not on YouTube because I like my channel. And yes, good, bad, or ugly, they're going to nuke me if I start talking about that openly, particularly if someone on my channel actually, or someone that I'm speaking to, denies it. Christ is okay. All right. Be happy to talk to you about it on Rumble. Sure. Just email me at email me there, and we can set something up. I've never used Rumble. I've never been on that platform, but I'd be happy to do it. As suspicious that their lie has to be protected with laws and rules. No, I don't really find that to be overly suspicious, but I believe that event happened. So, and I understand the harm it would cause to people who claim that it didn't. So, Christ, the event you describe is only a dress rehearsal for what is coming. Okay. I'm curious what that is, but that's not the point of today's channel. Stephanie, I hope this has been informative to you. Okay. All right. So back to prophets. I would say that calling yourself a prophet is a prideful act, because prophets are directly blessed by God. They are on a divine mission. Austin, do you believe that flat Earth is a divine mission? Do you believe that, in fact, people, and I guess this goes back to the whole thing of, do you believe that people who do not believe, or do you believe that that people who promote the heliocentric idea, who promote science, whatever it happens to be, are evil? Because prophets usually combat evil. So if you are a prophet on a divine mission, one, are you a prophet on a divine mission? I would really love to know that. And two, do you believe, as Jim Waterworld does, that heliocentrism and evolution are satanic? Atheism is a non-profit organization. Does atheism have an organization? Like, I know certain atheists do. The so-called Temple of Satan, Satanic Temple, whatever, those dudes. We can openly discuss the Armenian genocide, but for some reason it is taboo. We can also discuss the that event, I guess. Maybe not. I don't know. I don't know what I don't know how YouTube feels about discussing the Armenian genocide, particularly if you claim that it didn't happen. I actually don't know. Atheism is not a belief system. It is the rejection of a belief system. Belief is an active process. You do not actively not believe in something. So no, atheism is not a belief system. Anti-theism is dogmatic, but atheism is not, in my opinion. 70, yeah, of course. And as I've said, flat Earth is not monolithic. They are not all alike. But to ignore that there is anti-Semitism within the flat Earth and to ignore that has motivated some flat Earth thinking is, I think, I would caution against it. Granted, there are plenty of anti-Semites who believe the Earth is a sphere, so ancient atheism was foolish belief that there is no God. You might think of this as semantics, but atheists do not believe there is no God. They just simply reject what they cannot physically experience, from my understanding. I would not call that a belief. Flat Earth is a cult. Christ has nothing to do with it. Whoa, okay. Christ brings a sword. Do you think the Earth is a sphere? Because I was thinking you were a flat earther. Is it anti-Semitism, or is it calling out facts that disturb the story? There's a phrase for that kind of question, but I can't think of it off the top of my head. I would dispute that the denial of it is fact. But you were not a flat earther. Interesting. Okay. Christ. And by the way, I apologize. Sovereign in Christ, thank you for being here. Thank you for being on the channel. Thank you for having this sort of discussion with me. But Christ brings a sword. I apologize. I mistook you for a flat earther. So yeah, I don't know. But again, this is kind of diverging from, well, maybe not, but the topic of this shouting into the void, and we should probably wrap up in the next 15 minutes or so, is does science hide the creator? As a Christian, not as a Jesuit, not as a Catholic, but as a Christian, I can tell you it doesn't hide it from me. And I can also tell you that at least in astronomy and physics, this issue is never raised professionally. I mean, sure, if you're having a few beers, and the subject of religion comes up, sure, people are going to talk about it. But if you're at a conference, they're not going to be like, haha, this galaxy has a supermassive black hole in it of approximately 4.7 billion solar masses because Satan is king. Or because God doesn't exist. Or, God cannot exist because the stellar efficiency rate is only 3%. Science war. Oh no, wrong one. Saying lunatic things will get you labeled a flat earther. You have an engineering degree. Oh, an engineer. Engineers are like mathematicians. You have a brain you have a brain that is dissimilar to mine. Not good or bad. Just I don't think like an engineer. I don't think like a mathematician. With engineers, I don't have the capacity for such fine detail work. Cool story. Oh my God. You couldn't add bro at the end of that? Oh, really? That's disappointing. I don't know. I would give more people more credit than that. I think a lot of people can think in 3D. I don't know about most, but maybe. Left brain prison. Quote, Rachie, are you actually quoting somebody, or are you just stating that? So yeah, I can tell you that the scientific community doesn't give a shit. Scientists, individual scientists might, but science as a community, as a whole, the process by which it collects data, analyzes that data, and puts forth the evidence to support certain hypotheses. No, that has nothing to do with. There's nothing to do with religion of any shape or form. And really, we've actually kind of been, and I've been kind of been, Western centric on this. I believe Christianity is not the largest religion in the world. I believe that is Hinduism. Could be wrong. Hinduism is certainly pretty huge. Certainly pretty huge. We don't talk about, science hiding that Ganesh is a thing. So I don't know what to say about that. Yeah, that's dead. Scientism or actual science? Oh, I'm so tired of that term. There is no such thing as scientism. Sovereign. I look forward to our conversation on Rumble. If you are willing to have a conversation that is strictly limited to flat Earth and flat Earth and what's the word I'm looking for? Science. Well, how science is done, what science actually is. I would be happy. I want to talk to you about those on my channel. Again, because I like my channel, I don't really want to get into racial issues. But when it comes to flat Earth and your reasons for believing in it, or your motivation for looking at it, and what you think science actually is, that I would love to have a conversation about. Islam is overtaking Christianity, anti-Semitism. I don't know what you mean by anti-Semitism. Are you saying that Islam is anti-Semitic? Use of the term scientism as invective is I think we can have a discussion about the scientific method without actually involving racial issues into this. Let's talk about physics and astronomy, not biology. Flat Earth is a dead-end discussion. I would disagree with that. I would disagree with that because there are flat earthers. There are people who believe that the Earth is flat. And so because there are people who believe the Earth is flat, and conversely, and probably more importantly, there are people who have stated that people who are, or at least implied that people who believe the Earth is flat are in fact prophets, then I would say that this conversation is not a dead end. It is, in fact, a necessity. Bellywood, you still don't know what a race is. I've been told that races don't actually exist. I don't know. I haven't looked into it too terribly much. I don't know if that's... you will win that debate with ease. It's not really about winning the debate. It's about whether or not you can sway their opinion. How does the sun come up? Christ brings a sword. I don't know if you have encountered many flat earthers, but they have that answer. And we've gone down that path many, many a time. And again, this isn't about winning the debate. This is about whether or not, this is deeper than that. I think the flat earth discussion goes to the core of why science or scientists are not believed. Because scientists do not believe that the Earth is flat. And with space, and again, not a geophysicist, but with space observations as evidence, I would say that the shape of the Earth is fact now. It's an observable fact. Sovereign Soul, there it is. Yep. There you go, Christ. That's their answer. It makes no sense. Well, it apparently makes sense to them, which is, again, why I think the conversation is important. Why does it make sense to them? Why is it that what I would love to see is actual measurements of the angular size of the sun across the sky and rigorously tested. I would like values with error bars. I would like them to be analyzed statistically. If people can make those observations, if they can give me the data, I would be happy to analyze it for them. And I will clearly explain why. What the data says and why it says it. And man, I really need to do something about this lighting. Howdy, Lucky. When are we gonna have a chat? When are we gonna have a chat, man? Have you emailed me? Did I miss that? I think we're gonna set something up. Did I flake on you? I must have flaked on you. I don't know. But we need to have a chat. We need to get online. How about right now? Sadly, I'm about to wrap up in about 10 minutes. I got to go downstairs and see if I can set up a recording for the science talk that's going to happen later tonight. So, but yes, tomorrow I'm going to be answering Austin's questions, 20 questions for Globers. So, I don't know. I've got this weekend is free. Saturday or Sunday afternoon. You've been super busy with hockey every evening. Playing or watching? Maybe early March after hockey is over. So yeah, have you been playing or watching? And if you've been watching, who's your team? Go Lightning. How about them Bolts? Oh, your son plays. Excellent. What position? Why not try to prove the Bible has an error in it? Because you can't. I think you can, such as the Genesis story. I believe there is, in fact, a contradiction in the two Genesis stories on how the hell Eve got created. Did she come from clay or did she come from Adam's rib? That seems to be a problem that hasn't really been solved theologically. Where did you get the R value? Oh, you mean radius value, not least squares value. Got it. Genesis is a big book. Well, not as big as the Bible. I don't know if it's as big as anything else. Forward. Nice. Never learned how to play hockey because I was never gonna Southern boy, so there's really nowhere frozen that I could learn how to skate on. But yeah, hockey's good stuff. Oh, tomorrow. Did I set it for 2 days? Oh, crap. I need to change that. Yeah, it's supposed to be tomorrow at 6:30. So yeah, I'll fix that. Thanks. There is Bellywood. There is only one kind of hockey. Violent. What is the joke? I was watching a great fight, and then all of a sudden a hockey game bust out. Well, obviously not real violent, but there is checking. You have to have checking. Well, at least in the hockey that I want to watch, you have to have checking, which is, violent. Are we comparing Enoch's size? No, not going to go there. So yeah. Yeah, that's basically what I wanted to say about this. But when it comes to proving the Bible correct, that goes to, or proving the Bible incorrect. I think there are certain inconsistencies with it. I would like to, the Bible does make some claims that, the 6-day narrative of creation. I would say that is demonstrably wrong. That we have, regardless of the overarching cosmological problems, we can definitively state that the universe was not created even in the order in which Genesis describes. It certainly wasn't created in 6 days. The universe is not 6,000 or 10,000 years old. We can use the radiometric dating to show that. Claims of spontaneous bush burning and river parting and sun standing still, I would need some kind of scientific evidence that would indicate that is possible. Of course, God's will and all that. But science doesn't have anything to say about God, and God really has religion has nothing to say about science. So hockey is a bit more restrained on this side of the Atlantic than it's not hockey. Shouldn't be restrained hockey. So, yeah. So, yes. So when it comes to that, I am not a Bible literalist in any way, and it does not affect my faith in any way. Science is a tool of the devil to deceive the world that there is no God. Christ, do you not use science in your work? Or do you feel that engineering is completely separate than science? Insofar that engineering is not science. And again, I've already discussed this. I can tell you from a professional standpoint, unless I'm not invited to, the secret dinners or meetings, I can tell you as a profession, science doesn't care about religion, one way or the other. Scientists do, or may, but science does not. That science is a lie. Again, I don't know what kind of engineer you are, but I find that to be an interesting statement to make. Well, two interesting statements to make. You have studied all the sciences the university has to offer. Okay. I could make a similar statement, but I would say that my studies of chemistry and particularly of biology are not great. The globe was born of a sun cult led by Hermes, blah, blah, blah. News to me. The first person that I'm aware of to put forth that the Earth is a globe was Pythagoras, and I think he did so on geometric grounds. The next person that I'm aware of is, of course, ye old Aristotle, who put forth logical grounds. As far as I know, Pythagoras, there's a lot of occult there that I'm not aware of. But with Aristotle, I'm pretty versed in Aristotle, and he did not have any reason for saying that the Earth was a globe for occult reasons. He did take the leap to say that the Earth is the center of the world, of the universe, because we're on it, thus making it significant. Oh yes, Pythagoras was debunked by Iggy. I hope he's doing well. I hope he quit smoking. Science is a method of discovery, nothing more, but used improperly can be used to push an agenda. Okay, all right. I can see a position for that. I can see how one would believe that. Not saying they're right or wrong. But I can see it. I can see that. What is going on here? I was doing a lot of things. The main thrust of this was I was addressing some comments that Austin had made at the end of his stream, where he says a lot of things that I've taken umbrage with. He basically calls heliocentric. He calls scientists and those of us who believe in science or the mainstream science, it's weak. He believes that flat Earth is being oppressed, and that he seems to believe that he is a prophet from God. The salad shooter. All right, that's one way of looking at him. A couple of Greek dudes in a bathhouse talking about balls is not the consensus of Greece. Is that a homophobic slur? Are you suggesting that those Greek dudes are gay? Not subtly. I don't know. Consensus of Greece? No, certainly Aristotle was not the Aristotelian position was not was it the consensus? Actually, I would argue that it is. Was it did anyone disagree? Sure, Aristarchus of Samos disagreed, and he got kicked out of Athens for it. Yes, Clive, as I said, there is a rather prideful, if in fact he is saying this, it is rather prideful of him to say it. Homophobia is another made-up nonsense word. Okay, all right, good to know. Sable Legal. Children's Encyclopedia of Science once does not. Oh, okay. So Rachie actually does have a point. All words are made up. Someone had to create a word to describe a something. But Christ, I'm going to be wrapping up pretty soon. But I kind of want to know, if you don't mind, unless you've already said it. You've told me that you are an engineer. Is engineering science? I would also be curious as to know what type of engineer you are, but more so, I'm much more curious as to whether or not you believe engineering is a science. Well, phobe means fear, obviously. Homo. Doesn't that mean homogeneous? Doesn't that mean a single thing? Like just one of that, everything in it is the same, like homogeneous? But I don't know. Engineering is not a pseudoscience. That is likely what he means. Science is a large field of study. Engineering is based on empirical evidence, but then there are scientists, quote unquote, that preach false doctrine. You made the statement, and I can pull it up. Made a couple statements, actually. I know science is a lie. Science is a tool of the devil to deceive the world that there is no God. My question to you is, do you believe that engineering is science? Because if so, then engineering, the profession, your profession, by your own words, is a lie. That is a tool of the devil. Same. Thank you. So I was close. I was in the ballpark of what is this, like, same. Trust Fauci if you trust science. Fauci is a scientist, for example. I don't need an example. Yes, Fauci is a scientist. I fully agree with that. I'm not asking for whether or not engineering is not a science. Thank you. That's all I need. That's okay. It is not. It is not on the cutting edge of science. Okay. So by that, I'm reading that science, by your definition, would be the cutting edge of research, the cutting edge of ideas. Okay. Homogenized, yes. Lucky, the method of discovery cannot lie. It is a method, however, and it can be strayed from and still called science, even if it disagrees with experiment. Sleight of hand. Lucky, I would be happy. Again, that's the thing I really want to talk to you about is how, one of the things I want to talk about is, the what you feel the scientific method is. Yes, Homo sapiens. I wasn't certain with Homo sapiens. That didn't really lead me to think that Homo was same, but I knew words like homogeneous or homogeneity, those types of things led to things of this, of the same, basically. Engineering is based on the laws we have established, but science is under the control of those who control the world. Interesting that you capitalize laws and science. Okay. Engineering is a discipline dealing with the art of science, with the art or science of applying scientific knowledge to practical problems. I agree with that. I think Dr. Wells is very, that definition I would, sovereign, yes. So, again, it is a word that has a common definition. That whether or not that does not seem to match with the word, it's the roots of the word itself. You can argue. I mean, I suppose you can say that yes, if you, in your opinion, that is a nonsense word, but I think you also are implying, or maybe outright saying, that it doesn't exist. So. Science is demonstrable, repeatable observation. That is one part of science, yes. Or is a major key post of science. I think science incorporates other things, but yes, that is definitely one of them. Sable Eagle, basically true. What is basically true? I can't find it. Can't be bothered to find it. Oh, engineering, the art of only applying as much science as you really need to and neglecting the stuff that's smaller than your margins of error. Yeah, okay. Fair enough. A proper engineer is likely to come to the flat earth truth rather quickly if pondered without bias. Phrasing. It would seem that, in your opinion, that that a engineer is only proper if they come to flat Earth quickly. That seems to be rather limiting. You find homosexuality disgusting. You have no fear of it, just repulsion. Oh, all right. So for you, oops. That's not what I wanted you to do. Stop it. Okay. All right. What word do you have? No, not going to go there. An engineer is raised with the faith that the earth is a globe. Are you sure you're not a flat earther, Christ? Because the earth as a globe is not a faith. It is science. I'm getting very confused by your standpoint. Hydrophobic coating repels and is repelled by water because it fears it. Well, apparently hydrophobic, sable eagle, is a nonsense word. People always pigeonholing and labeling. Oh, shoot. I've actually got a meeting in 6 minutes. Fuck. I didn't even think about that. All right. So I will be having to wrap up very 6 minutes. It's, oh, I'm look. Durr. Time is hard for Professor Parks. So yes, I've got a meeting at 4 that I need to probably get to, but I'm having too much. As a scientist, I like labels. I like quote unquote pigeonholing because it helps me understand where things are in relation to others. So, um, you know, I would say that being repelled by homosexuals is homophobic. I, objectively, that carries no judgment. I know how I feel about it, but objectively, it doesn't carry a judgment. It is simply a label. A label by itself is not problematic. It's when that label is tied to, well, not the issue people have, I think, is when that label is tied to a certain connotation, positive or negative. Don't put baby in a corner. Nice reference. Nice reference. Again, I like labels because it helps me know where the hell I am. If it helps me know how to treat certain people. And it lets me know what's going on. So I like labels. Labels don't limit. I don't think labels limit. Labels, because to limit would be that you are trapped by that label, and I don't think that's the case. You can be whoever you want to be. Um, I think what you're getting at is that people will close their mind to you if they hear or if they label you as such way, and that's what I'm talking about in terms of connotation. If it becomes a sort of problematic when the label is attached to a judgment. And what I mean by problematic is in that it may be limiting, that you may overlook or what have you, overlook someone else's, a person's other qualities. But I want to make absolute. I want to be absolutely clear about something. I reject bigotry in any form. Period. I think it's morally wrong. I would even go so far as to say that I will go so far as to say that it's morally reprehensible. But I will not judge someone's entirety of being based on bigoted feelings or bigoted opinions. So no two people are exactly the same. Placing label limits your perspective only if you allow it to. I would say only if you allow it to. Only if you allow for the. This is tied, I think, into the same thing with science. This idea that science proves it doesn't. Science allows for the idea that you could be wrong. It allows for the idea that new evidence can come in and your assessment or your description of reality will change. Now, with labels, same applies. If you allow for the fact that if you were to label something or label someone, if you allow for the fact that that label doesn't completely define that person and that person can change, good or bad, then I don't think there's a limit there. It's more of it's really what kind of weight you put to that label or strength. Overlooking morally reprehensible actions is not reprehensible. Overlooking them, Well, one, I don't believe that homosexuality is morally reprehensible. Um, yes, that is in direct conflict with the Bible. I know that is a problem that I've been working on. That is a problem that I'm trying to rectify. That is a problem that I'm trying to reconcile, rather. And it's a big problem. And if I were to be, and honestly, it feeds into my doubts. And I think anyone who is honest as a person of faith, you have doubts. Because if you don't have doubts, you don't believe. Dogmatism is not belief. Belief is the openness to being wrong. At least that's my definition of it. So, yeah, Bible is in direct so I understand why you would feel that that homosexuality is morally reprehensible, particularly as a Christian. I get that. Bible clearly states that it is. I don't agree with it, and I don't know how to reconcile it yet. It may be that I would no longer consider myself a Christian, but I believe that I have a relationship with Christ, so I don't know how to reconcile that either. If you don't trust the word of God, you will remain ignorant. I think the word of God is basically stating that there is one word of God, that there is only a single interpretation of God's word, is exceedingly limited for an unlimited being. And I really have to go, even though I really have a lot to say on this. Sovereign, you're not religious. Okay. Yeah, that's religious, spiritual. Yeah. If you are dogmatic in any way, if you refuse to believe that your views can change, then I'm sorry, you are religious. You may not have an organization that you apply yourself to, but by my definition, you are religious. Religion involves dogmatic thinking. I have dogmatic thoughts. I have dogmatic thinking. So anyway, all right. So like I said, I got to go. I got a plan for some eclipse. For those of you who don't know, April 8th, there is a total solar eclipse of my heart. Now, what I mean is there is a total eclipse of the sun that can be seen along a certain path in the United States. And it will be seen as a partial for almost everyone else in the United States. So I've got to go. We were planning lots of stuff. So I got to go deal with that. Thank you all for being here. Thank you for the lively discussion at the end. Again, Austin, I hope you take my words in the spirit that they were given. I think that a lot of what you just said is wrong and is not helpful, and I am concerned about the whole prophet business. Yeah, like I said, I think that's problematic at best. So, for those of you, as I said, I have been and will always be Professor Parks, PhD. I make content on astronomy, science, skepticism, and mental health. If you like this sort of content, please like, share, and subscribe. If you really like this sort of content and want to help me out financially, please consider becoming a member of the channel or becoming one of my patrons. It didn't really happen here, but yeah, well, I'm not going to say it. This didn't happen. So if you'd like to support me there, you can find that. It should be in the description of this video when it gets posted. And with that, peace out, clear skies. I've got an outro and I still haven't fixed it. Bellywood, you will be included. I see you. I see you, Bellywood. So you will be included in this.